As a Salesforce consultant, I am always looking for customers, and I find them in the most unexpected places. What I'm going to do in this video is actually talk you through where you can find some existing customers who use Salesforce, who have reported that they use Salesforce. And so perhaps you can actually go ahead and see whether there's opportunities there. But before I do that, let me actually talk you through some common characteristics of organizations that use Salesforce. So going through, in my experience, having sort of worked with companies that use Salesforce, I've found 5 key things about them that are very similar and that I'd like to share with you. The first thing is that they have a very clear mission, and that mission is linked to very clear data-driven outcomes, all right? And the company expresses these in data-driven outcomes. You might say all companies have a mission. Well, companies that express it in data-driven approaches are more likely to use Salesforce. Secondly, they're very, very clear about their customers, who they are and how they serve them. And they express this through data, right? Thirdly, they have very strong internal processes. They use data-driven processes to make external and internal decision making. And so when you're in a conversation with someone who says, we actually use data to make decisions, it's very likely that they would be open to having a conversation about Salesforce. Fourthly, there's learning and knowledge. Companies that are at the edge of innovation, who are very invested in the learning of their employees and the recruitment of top talent, are very, very open to using Salesforce or to advance their Salesforce use. And finally, when you have conversations related to finances and there's actually budget for a customer relationship tool, it is often a great conversation point to introduce Salesforce as an option. What I'm going to do from now is actually show you some companies that have these 5 characteristics, and we're actually going to break them down and take a look at a few case studies. So I am actually here in the Customer Success Stories URL. And what this is essentially a list of customers or partners that work with Salesforce. And so you can actually go in and see some big names like Adidas, US Bank, Coney, AWS, Farmers Insurance. And what you can even do is filter these stories. And you can have large industries, small industries, you can go into automotive, you can even look at specific products that they offer. And what you can do is actually take a look at the story behind these specific clients. And the reason why I like to think about that is because it gives me a sense of what kind of proposals I could put forward to a client similar to this. So I might be working with a small enterprise that does clothing. By looking at the Adidas case study, I'm able to think about how I can market my services to the specific company. Now, this is the kinds of products that they use. I can then look at demos and other products. And what this helps me do is really get a good sense of the kind of products that they are purchasing, but also the kind of services I can offer to help them use those products more effectively. And as I go through, I can look at products, I can look at solutions for nonprofits, startups, roles, needs, industries. I can look at support services, upcoming events. I can look at some customer success stories, and I can even reach out and have some background information about Salesforce as a company. All of these combined are really, really helpful when you're thinking about where your customers are and how you can support them. I'm just going to go back for a brief moment really quickly and scroll down to show you what I think is perhaps the best part of this page, which is the business type. And you can use business to business, you can use size, and what I'm actually going to do is talk about startups, which is perhaps the greatest opportunity for Salesforce at the moment. So as it's loading, let's actually take a look. One of the great ones is this one right here. Let's take a look. It's the high tech, it's a Asana opportunity. Asana is one of the most rapidly growing project management tools, and they actually use Salesforce. And as you know, tech is where it's at. And so tech companies, as they're building their particular brands, as they're building their industries, Salesforce is right at the cutting edge of that process. And so I highly recommend that you go to customer success stories, you Google that, and you read through these incredible case studies. Brian Boroff, he wrote an incredible just narrative of his experience with Salesforce and the kind of needs he had. And that was a light bulb moment for me to say, if he has a narrative like that, other entrepreneurs have narratives like this. I can provide those kind of services. So that's where you can find your customers, and customers like